Previously on Mad as Hell.
You are out of line.
No, you're out of line, Attorney General, and the other Q jumpers who are ruining this country.
ABCC has no authority over border protection.
It's an election issue. Extend my powers.
No. Get off our property, you goddamn heretic!
Could be a double agent.
Not Andrew Bolt.
He is looking decidedly less insane alongside Gerard Henderson and Alan Jones these days. If people start listening to him, or worse, reading him and paying for the privilege, you can say goodbye to the whole circus.
Not such a bad thing. I hate that show.
No, not Media Circus. I mean the whole organisation, the ABC.
Oh, right.
Well, the government has been returned. And when I say returned, I mean because it's broken and we want our money back. Or replaced with a new one that actually works. And I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to another election because it finished up just as it was getting interesting, didn't it? It was a real cliffhanger. Would Medicare be dismantled? Were refugees going to be treated humanely? What the hell was going on here? But that's democracy for you, folks. And the government, whichever it might be, have been given a mandate to not run this country effectively. And if they don't deliver, well, then come the next election in a few weeks' time, we'll vote for a hung parliament that will. Who's with me? Of course, like the chromosome that determines the gender of a newborn baby, the deciding factor of this election might be in the male. Australians overseas could very well turn this election result on either its head or its arse, depending on where you sit on the fence-wise. Voters in Antarctica, for example, were last week braving the elements as they went to the polls. Yes, I'm not quite sure why they had to cast their vote outside. Any thoughts there, political pundit and host of Canberra Crawl Space, Madonna Flam?
I don't know, Shaun. Maybe none of them are human anymore. Have you seen The Thing?
Bill Heffernan?
No, silly. The John Carpenter movie. Maybe their alien DNA makes them impervious to the cold. And I guess a shape-shifting alien would vote Labour because of its weak border protection policy. And apparently the sausage sizzle was appalling because of the freezy, coldy weather.
Well, thank you very much, Madonna.
Walnut syrup fudge balls?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Actually, Madonna aside, I would like to take my hat off to the media, and here's one I prepared earlier, for the way they conducted themselves during this election. Not just the way they supported Malcolm after his concession-stroke victory speech.
If he wants to be the Prime Minister, he's got to be the Prime Minister for everybody.
I thought that, quite frankly, was pretty pathetic.
This is a disgrace. The man should resign.
but for their support all the way through the campaign. 14 of the 15 major newspapers endorsed a vote for the coalition, and you just can't buy that sort of support. Well, Labor can't seem to anyway. Even lefty student newspaper The Age backed Mr Turnbull, though curiously the Sunday Age backed Mr Shorten. Now, this is the sort of newspaper that's very quick to jump down the throats of politicians if they flip-flop on some issue, and yet their recommendation on which way to vote depended on which day of the week you ask them. One day they're pro-Labor, next day they're anti-Labor. We already have Mark Latham for that. And now the Libs are getting it in the neck too. And it's not just the Liberal Party heavyweights like Andrew Bolt and Peter Credlin, and to a lesser extent Corey Bernardi, who are calling for Mr Turnbull's resignation. There is talk that Mr Shorten should step aside too. But Anthony Albanese laid waste to that vile rumour with a spirited defence of Bill last night on that thing that Lee Sales hosts.
There's no one better in a small room than Bill Shorten.
What did he mean by that exactly? Because Parliament's a very large room, isn't it? Why would he be better in a small room?
I've got a perfect puzzle for you. Oompa-loompa-dee-dee. If you are wise, you'll listen to me.
Of course, the smaller the room, the fewer people have to listen to him. But that said, Bill Shorten really is very good in a bedroom, outstanding in an elevator, and without peer in a toilet. Of course, that's the regular media and those who talk to it. How Mad as Hell works is a bit different. In fact, our role changes from here on. Rather than trying to get you to vote communist, now we try and hold the fascist government to their promises. Promises like this one.
If the plebiscite is passed, there is nothing more certain than that the legislation will pass through the Parliament. It will sail through the Parliament.
Well, that's an interesting choice of language, isn't it? It will sail through the Parliament. Sail. It will sail through the Parliament. You notice he said the word sail? It will sail through the Parliament. You know, I question the commitment, given that the coalition's reputation is based on actually stopping boats. But if Malcolm's right and the gay marriage bill does pass through both houses, then hello, sailor.
Hello, Shaun. Nice to be here.
No. Not you, Bobo. No, it was just a figure of speech.
Oh.
Yeah, there's no interview this week.
Oh, as you wish. My mistake.
No, it's fine. Sorry to bother you.
They're not interviewing us this week.
But a word, if I may, on the question of the plebiscite. No, that's plebiscite. 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 Now that's carbonite. That's a building site. Look, it's written on the... It's written on the caption, plebiscite. Pleb, as in the Latin plebeian, all right, means the ordinary man. In our case, the regular, bog-standard, everyday Australian. Okay, that's good. Anyway, I think this whole gay marriage thing is the reason the government took a hit on Saturday. And again, the Age is largely to blame after running this paragraph just 3 days before the big vote. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has attempted to clear up growing confusion about a national plebiscite on same-sex marriage by saying he wants a vote held by the end of the year and expects it to be compulsory. Now, you tell people that same-sex marriage is going to be compulsory, and some of your more conservative seats are going to get worried. But even though there was a lot of uncertain feelings and things to be concerned and angry and confused and disappointed and nonplussed and flabbergasted and agog and about in the wake of this weekend's debacle, there was a lot we could be certain and happy and positive and about as well. Because I'm happy. Firstly, congratulations to Rebecca Sharkey, who snatched Mayo from the jaws of Jamie Briggs, resulting in a House of Reps seat for Nick Xenophon team. Spokesperson for Rebecca, Tony Secumba, and Chief of Staff for Nick Xenophon, Minotaur Baklava, you must be pleased.
Oh, Shaun! What Tony is trying to say, Shaun, is that Rebecca is delighted with the result and she owes it all to the Nick Xenophon team, particularly Nick, whose idea it was.
All right, great. And Tony, I guess Rebecca, as a former staffer for Jamie Briggs, must have found it a little bit awkward during the campaign.
On the contrary, Shaun. What Tony means is that Rebecca, with the Nick Xenophon team behind her, couldn't have done it without Nick Xenophon. I can answer these questions myself, you know. Yeah, of course you can. He's perfectly capable of answering these questions himself, you know, thanks to Nick and the Nick Xenophon team.
Would you like a glass of water, Minotaur?
Oh, no, I'm fine. But I think Tony would like a glass of water. Oh, no, thank you. What Tony would say, if he could, is that Rebecca will be working very closely with Nick and the Nick Xenophon team to keep the Nick Xenophon message on target.
Yes.
For maximum xenophonic enjoyment.
Of course. All right, well, thank you very much, both of you, Tony and Minotaur. Of course, even blind Freddie could have seen that Jamie Briggs was going to lose his seat. But you would have had to have needed all your senses to have abandoned you to have predicted the success of Pauline Hanson, whose folksy charm and religious intolerance combined to win over Queensland's Heartland bypass. Director of Communications for Pauline Hanson's One Nation, Casper Jonquil, congratulations.
Never mind that. What have they done to Shape's biscuits? They taste all weird. And why are mousetraps and snail repellent next to the pet care section in the supermarket? It's confusing when I send my mice and the snail out to do the shopping. I complained to my local member, but it just looked at me until the police came.
Thank you, Casper. Christopher Pine should also be congratulated for retaining his electorate, particularly given how often people write him off as some sort of joke, particularly on this show. Jelly Canister, there must have been champagne corks being disgorged, people falling into jacuzzis and aubergine dip all over Sturt on Saturday night.
I don't know, Shaun. I wasn't allowed into the party at Christopher's house because of the AVO, but I'm such a fanboy, I was able to break into his home and wait for him in the cupboard.
That's strange. I thought you worked for him.
I was a volunteer for a couple of days, but when Christopher found me in the boot of his car wearing his clothes and glasses and speaking in his voice, he banned me from the campaign office. But I never stopped supporting him, Shaun, never. I even robocalled everyone in his electorate twice just to make sure that they voted for him.
That's very dedicated of you.
When I was in his cupboard, I found his baby shoes. They'd been bronzed. Was I wrong to steal them?
Probably.
I had wanted to surprise Christopher when he came home by jumping out of a giant cake, but the nurse said no. In the end, I just made some custard.
Well, he's held the seat of Sturt since 1993, and there's really...
No, I don't like the way Lee Sales hosted the election coverage on Saturday night. If I want to sit through 7 hours of bad jokes and people talking over each other, I'll argue the last 14 episodes of this show. I complained to Sophie Mirabella about the state of politics in this country, but she said, oh, it's got nothing to do with me.
Thank you very much, Casper. Casper raises a very interesting point. For some reason, Sophie Mirabella's doomed from the outset election campaign misfired, and independent Cathy McGowan, who won the seat of Indi from Sophie 3 years ago, won again. So what went wrong? Mad as Hell's political scientist Lois Price is currently hovering over the Mirabella property in Wangaratta in the Mad as helicopter. Lois, what's your view on all this?
Well, Shaun, a lot of candidates try to woo us by telling us how they're going to create jobs or rip money out of aged care, but Sophie Mirabella came up with a refreshingly frank reason for not voting for her.
A lot of the people in positions making decisions are friends of mine.
Amazing, isn't it, to think she has friends?
Well, they made themselves pretty scarce during the campaign, though, didn't they, Lois?
Well, from my position high in the sky, I can see that one of those friends has just arrived to visit Sophie, Shaun. It's Micallefs, who seems very upset, judging by the way she's shouting at Sophie and gesticulating wildly.
No, that's just her talking normally.
Holy shit! Be bamboozled by the bargains at Bert's Bamboo Barn, take home one of Bert's Bamboo Barn bamboo lounge chairs, and in weeks 3 others in a bamboo sofa will have sprung up around your living room. Mention my name for a look of blank comprehension. I'm Lois Price for Mad as Hell.
Thanks, Lois. Well, speaking of Micallefs, congratulations to the Minister for retaining her WA Senate seat. Actually, one thing that Senator Cash and I have in common is that we both enjoy a laugh, whether it's at an old joke or a funny anecdote from the boss or nothing in particular. And I think we could have done with a few more laughs in the campaign, don't you? It might have helped. They don't need to be expertly crafted original shards of blinding wit, as Bill Shorten constantly proves. Normal, everyday situations can be funny, like, for example, introducing people to each other.
Prime Minister, good to see you again.
See you again.
How are you?
Well, that is pretty funny, isn't it? The Prime Minister turning up as arranged to meet somebody. Guess you had to be there. Speaking of which, why are you still here?
I was waiting for the piano to fall on me.
Oh, we're not doing that anymore because it doesn't look convincing.
Very well. Take me, my pretties, and fly, fly, fly away.
Anywho, there was a lot of seats gained and lost on the weekend, but if the election had one winner, that would be really weird because that's not how the Westminster system works. But if there was, I think it would be George Christensen, who election analysis showed was the most abused MP on Twitter. But do these sorts of accolades make up for the train wreck that members of the Turnbull Coalition have been picking over this week? And who is responsible? Official campaign spokesperson Matthias Cormann, spokesperson Darius Horsham. Is it a case of losing the campaign but not winning the election, or vice versa?
Shaun, do I have the word asshole typed on my forehead? No! We fought this campaign with everything we had. Scott Morrison's easels and wild conjecture. We locked up the lunatics like the Erica Betzes and the Croy Bernardis. Malcolm did everything we asked. Wearing 3D glasses with Christopher Pine, touching the rats, riding the trains, pretending to be interested in what normal people said to him in Western Sydney. Even his wife and grandchild and Daisy were not safe from a timetable. He even ate Annabelle Crabb's chocolate double missolution brownie, for Christ's sakes.
Well, no one's blaming you, Darius.
Don't bullshit on my kitten and tell me it's a brown leg. What more could we have done? Well, they're not sending me to the cooler. Prepare for a bitter harvest. Winter has come at last. If our party must suffer, humanity will suffer with us. No certainty, no future, no AAA rating, and all because you assholes are a bunch of economic girly men.
Did you want me to sing Adele, Send My Love?
No, I'm good. Still to come later in the week.
Winning isn't everything, but it does come a very close second.
Mum, the boys are making fun of the colour of my hair again at school. I never want to go back to Our Lady of the Bleeding Hearts again. Do you hear me? Again!
You'll cry with tears until your funny bone bursts.
There, pumpkin.
Dad wants me to sing in the synagogue, Ma, but I got dreams. Dreams where I'm being chased by a giant peanut.
Now. Drink your Ritalin.
Australia's fourth funniest man is about to get a first at the University of Hard Knocks.
That is the funniest thing I've seen in my 57 years of show business.
Mr. Ziegfeld, what are you doing here?
To put you on TV, my boy. How would you like to host the Logies?
No, I'm good.
When you can't hear the laughter, the only thing to do is see the light.
Shaun Micallefs, you regain consciousness this minute.
Is he ready?
Oh, he's whacked out on PCP, angel dust, heroin and crack.
Right. Give him a shot of crystal meth just to be sure. We go live in 5 minutes.
Starring Stephen Hall as Shaun Micallefs.
The internet reviews are in, baby, and they're mixed.
I don't care about comedy, Mrs. O'Halloran. How can the world laugh when the Patagonian llama and the Guianan monkey squirrel are almost extinct?
I don't know. I guess you had to be there. Do Milo, baby, please.
Well, with all the excitement of our election these last couple of months, I've only just caught up on what's been happening in Britain this last week. Have you heard? They lost their place in Europe, they lost their AAA credit rating, and they lost to Iceland in the Euro Championship. It occurs to me that now will be a really, really good time for us to become a republic, because they're not even going to notice. They'll be busy worrying about losing Scotland and Northern Ireland. They won't even be thinking of losing anyone from the Commonwealth. So it's perfect timing. And we're already spending $160 million on a plebiscite. We may as well get our money's worth and add another question. After do you want to be able to marry someone of the same gender, we can put, oh yes, and would you like to get rid of the Queen? That'll confuse the homophobes. Actually, on Britain losing its AAA credit rating, apparently they now have only a AA credit rating. Now, I'm not quite sure what this means, so I was jolly grateful to the Nine Network for this graphic that explained exactly what's happened.
Major ratings agencies have downgraded the country's gold-plated AAA credit rating by 2 points to AA.
Channel 9. Entertaining and educational. And all this talk of Britain reminds me that it's been a few weeks since we did any news from countries that aren't Australia.
Proudly brought to you by the Q&A voice-guided GPS navigation system, featuring Q&A host Tony Jones.
Proceed through roundabout and in 40 metres turn.
Can I just interrupt you just for a moment there?
Well, to Brussels first, where Belgian police have arrested a man wearing a fake suicide belt filled with biscuits. Fortunately, the fake bomb failed to explode when the timing device, which I assume was one of these, proved inadequate. Of course, nothing on the packaging to warn you that these things are only right twice a day. So, into the bin. Well, if you're a chocoholic, very soon you needn't worry at all about indulging in your favourite turd-shaped snack treat. Scientists in America have discovered a way to make chocolate more healthy by electrocuting it. Apparently they're considering doing something very similar to contestants on The Biggest Loser next series. Certainly be a lot less cruel than having to put up with Michelle Bridges and Commando. Critics say the new method does not deal with the real problem of chocolate, that is the addictive quality of the caffeine. And surely it wouldn't be too hard to take the caffeine out, in my opinion, replace it with something else. Something that was attempted recently in Northern Ireland, where 2 children opened a Kinder Surprise and discovered it contained crystal meth. Now, I'm no expert in food cravings, but I would have thought that'd make things worse. Again, look, inadequate labelling, emulsifier, skim milk powder and vegetable fats are mentioned, but nothing about hillbilly crack. Although it does say that small parts can be ingested or inhaled. Still, into the bin. Well, over in the US, Donald Trump controversially weighed into the Australian election.
I am going to withdraw the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Now, the United States, of course, being Bob Day's Family First Party. Although I wouldn't have thought they'd be involved with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or in fact anything that had the word trans in it. Hey, listen to this.
A new study is underway in Australia based on international research that found almost half of the bacteria on public transport didn't match any known organism.
Now, I'm sorry, but I just think transit officers are going a bit too far if they're now asking bacteria for ID. And how did these queue-jumping, freeloading alien bacteria get past our strong borders and onto our public transport systems, eh? No, you wouldn't have got bacteria sneaking in under John Howard. Well, Volkswagen is now set to pay out $10.2 billion in claims after admitting it installed secret software which allowed vehicles to emit 40 times the legal pollution levels. A spokesman said that 482,000 cars would be recalled, which I think you'll agree is an astonishing feat of memory. We cross now to our Man is Hell sister program in Dusseldorf with host Bruno Schneider. Danke, Shaun. And tonight on Bruno Schneider's Woodhand We Hall, we are apologizing for the Volkswagen scandal. Joining me in our shame is the ghost of the man who conceived the idea of the People's Card of Hitler, popular Austrian cabaret artist Conchita Wurst, and the only other famous German we could think of, Augustus Gloop from the original Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory film. Plus, as always, the star of the Love Bug series, Herbie. Hitler's ghost, if I could start with your apology.
Bruno, ich weiß nicht, was ich sagen soll. Sie haben meinen guten Abend ruiniert. Ich wende meine Körperessen sagen durft.
Yes.
Ohne Zweifel von einem illegalen Düsseldorfer in der Mitte. Ich will davon.
Thank you. And Conchita Wurst, do you too feel shame?
Und wird, Bruno, alle meine harte Arbeit beim Grand Prix ein Bild als bauen, wer alles schuld sein konnte, ist wie eine Rauschwolke verschwunden. Wenn nur Sie diese Emission beschwagen haben, möchten Sie mir ein Klagelied singen?
No, I'm good. Anything to add about the reinforcing of German stereotypes, Augustus Gloop?
Nein?
Finally, the real victim in all of this, the Automobile Americana itself, Herbie, star of the Lombard, you must be feeling devastated, Herbie. Yes. Still to come later in the week. Prince Philip reminds Keanu Reeves not to drop below 50 miles an hour. Kate Middleton's audition for the Hunger Games goes horribly wrong. And in sport, the sad consequences of the gender pay gap in tennis.
Serena Williams has fallen ill after eating dog food.
And speaking of sport, that's all coming up later in sport. But first, sport. And just days after retiring from international football, Argentinian star Lionel Messi has been commemorated with the unveiling of a statue in his honour. And for those who don't think it's a good example of a Messi statue, wait till the pigeons get a hold of it. And later in sport, Australian shooter Michael Diamond has been banned from competing at the Rio Olympics after being charged by police with drink driving offences. The Australian Olympic Committee said that they'd be interested only in uncut diamonds. Still to come later on in the week.
If you are one of the hundreds of Australians who enjoy watching Q&A, then iView might have just what you're looking for. A special montage of unused audience reaction cutaways lovingly collected from over Q&A's remarkable 8-year history. ABC iView. Not bad, given the content costs virtually nothing.
Well, we've all been impressed by the policies of our political parties over the last 8 weeks. But where do they come from? Who thinks them up and how? Think tanks. But how safe are they? Richard Hovell has more.
Pete McGinty has been making think tanks here at his workshop in Punchbowl for almost half a century. I asked him how they work.
This is the one my father made for the Institute of Public Affairs back in 1943. They still use it. They give it a bit of a clean every 2 years or so, but basically the old girl's still producing the same ideas she did back when Mr. Menzies invented the Liberal Party.
How does it work?
Oh, it's pretty simple. The IPA member is loaded into the chamber and locked in, away from the everyday distractions of real life. And this valve is turned down slowly to reduce the oxygen level and encourage unfettered free thinking. Recommended capacity is 1 member per session, because if the oxygen level gets too low, then it can cause problems for the single functioning human brain. Mind you, we had David Lionhelm and John Madigan in there together a month ago, and they seemed fine. This tube removes the rabid foam.
Do you just do conservative think tanks?
No, we do ultra-conservative think tanks too, for the Sydney Institute mainly. They do tend to overdo it a bit though. Got a call the other day to come out and revive Gerard Henderson, who'd been proofreading his media watchdog column for that week and had lapsed into unconsciousness. In there 12 hours he was.
How is he now?
A bit pruny.
And what about the so-called other side of politics?
Ah, yes. Well, these are our left-wing think tanks for the Social Policy Research Centre and the Australia Institute.
Same principle?
No, these are more hydroponic. The subject is kept in the dark in a sealed chamber of old bong water for up to 12 hours, at the end of which time he or she, or wherever they are on the spectrum, will usually come up with a swag of ideas that invariably lead to nothing.
And what about this one here? Looks very uncomfortable, isn't grounded, and actually seems quite dangerous.
Yes, that's the one we're developing for Corey Bernardi's Conservative Leaders Foundation.
Not coming up because we've run out of time, and Chase is on next. Man removes dog hair between his legs. And introduction still hilarious. Now, in the old days, the heads of vanquished political enemies were often found mounted on the battlements of the King's Castle. These days, you can find them talking on Sky News. And last week, I was fascinated by an insight from the one belonging to former Speaker of the House, Bronwyn Bishop. She revealed that she has rubbed shoulders with a certain presidential candidate.
I actually have met Donald Trump, and he seemed like a perfectly reasonable type person when I met him.
Now that leads us to conclude that as a result of meeting Bronwyn Bishop, he has gone from being perfectly reasonable to this.
I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
Goodbye.
Jive, baby.